Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Mary Ann and I am the Community Coordinator for the CREATE District 6 project here in Sacramento, California. CREATE District 6 project is a collaborative project between the artists and residents in District 6 Sacramento, the City of Sacramento, and California State University College of Arts and Letters, also here in Sacramento. So I'm really excited, and we're all really excited to be offering these CREATE on the go workshops for you. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make tissue paper flowers. They're fun, easy, and beautiful. The supplies to make them are something that you probably already have in your house, and they're relatively inexpensive. I have some examples of some that I've made behind me, hanging from the backdrop here, just to give you some ideas of different color combinations. So let's talk for a minute about the supplies that you're going to need. So first off, tissue paper, relatively inexpensive. And for the flower that we're going to be making today, you want to cut your paper in 10-inch by 10-inch square, as close as possible, 10-inch by 10-inch square. And that's going to make this size of flower. Now you can make the smaller flower by cutting smaller squares. I made these just by cutting this 10-inch by 10-inch paper into fours. But for today's workshop, we're going to be using 10 by 10. And it's easier when you are first making tissue paper flowers to start with a slightly larger piece of tissue paper until you get used to working with the material. Tissue paper is relatively sturdy, but it is easy to tear and takes a little bit of practice, just like anything else. So tissue paper in any colors you like. I have 6 sheets of orange and yellow alternating here. And then for the bottom of the flower, you're going to need 4 10 by 10 sheets of green, whatever shade of green that you want. This is a lime green we're using today. I've also used a darker green in the past for ones that I've made. The other thing that you're going to need is some tape and a pair of scissors. Pretty simple, huh? So those are the materials that you'll need. And I want to talk for a minute and just talk to you about the uses of tissue paper flowers. Like, I like to make them because they're beautiful, but I also like to make them because I can do a lot of things for relatively very little money, and sometimes just a few cents. I can use them in replacement of bows on presents and not have to go to all the expense of buying an expensive bow. And I can just put something like this on top of the gift, and it personalizes it and makes it really fun and beautiful. I've also used them for table decorations at different events that I've decorated for. So for just a few cents, you can put a vase of tissue paper flowers in the middle of a table and create a fun, festive atmosphere. You can use them for Christmas tree ornaments. I've even been to weddings where brides have hung them from the trees, large tissue paper flowers from the trees. In the Mexican culture, they're used to decorate altars and different things like that, decorate for quinceañeras. So the reason I'm telling you all this is to try to encourage you to make your own flowers from scratch rather than going out or going somewhere and purchasing an expensive kit. Because I have seen them sold in kits with everything pre-cut, but they're expensive and you just don't need to do that unless you have something really specific in mind and you have the budget to do that and you're trying to save some time. You can make them from scratch for practically nothing. Tissue paper, when you go to purchase it, this tissue paper was $1 at the dollar store, and I got 24 sheets, and that'll make a lot of flowers. But it didn't exactly have every color I needed. So sometimes you can go out like this orange, for instance. I spent a little extra money and I purchased the orange separately. It was about $1.29 for several sheets. Also, I love to use this turquoise and this purple. So sometimes I'll spend a little extra money, not a lot, and buy a specific color that I'm looking for. So let's get started. I'm going to point my camera down so you can see what I'm doing. So you have your 10 by 10 sheets all lined up like this with the green at the bottom and the colored sheets at the top. And you want to make sure that your corners match up fairly closely. Now remember, we're not striving for perfection here because we're not building a bridge, we're not cutting quilt squares, we're not baking a cake. So you want to get it as close as possible. Get the pieces lined up like that. And then we're going to make an accordion fold. And you might already know what that is, but it's the same fold that you would make if you were going to make this into a fan. So you start with about 1 inch. It's like that. That's your first fold, approximately 1 inch. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exact. And you want to make a sharp fold. And then you're just going to flip it over. And you're going to make your second fold. And you just keep doing this until you get to the end. Fold and flip, fold and flip. All right. So there you have it. Looks like this. This is your bottom with the green, and this is the top of the flower. As you can see here, green at the bottom and the colors at the top. Now you might have noticed that I cut also 2 or 3 2 by 10 inches long, no more than 2 inches wide strips. With these we're going to create our stamen. That's the part of the flower in the very center that carries the pollen and attracts your bees, your pollinators, like your hummingbirds and bees. So I cut those in half, make them no more than 2 inches, about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick, wide this way. And that's going to create these cute little things there in the middle, the stamen. And then I want to fold those in half, line them up, and fold those in half, because we're just going to lay those in the middle of the top. So next to your colors, just lay them right like that, and they're just going to be nestled in there like that. So you have something that looks like this. Now the next step is you want to find the center here. So just fold it in half again and create a crease. And there you have a little crease, so you can find the center here. Now the reason you want the center here is because I'm going to use my Scotch tape to hold all these pieces together. In order to do that, you want a 3 or 4 inch strip of tape that we're going to cut in half. So just cut this down the middle. This is probably one of the hardest parts. Okay, let's start that over. And get a new piece. Okay, 4 inches, approximately, cut down the middle. Okay, And I usually set aside the other half because I'm usually making more than one flower, and so I'm going to need the rest of the tape for the second flower. So I left a piece on here. Okay, so you have this long skinny piece of tape that you're just going to put right on the center. And wrap it around, and you want to wrap it and seal it pretty good because you don't want the tape coming loose as you're developing and designing your petals. So it looks like this. Now at this point you have something that looks like this, which is already really pretty, bright and cheery. But this is the point where if you wanted to attach a pipe cleaner, a green pipe cleaner, or some wire to make a longer stem, you could do that. And I've just got some wire here. I'm not going to attach it, but I want to show you if you wanted to make a longer stem, you could do that and just cut it off however long you wanted it. I would probably recommend covering this in floral tape or some kind of green tape so it looks more like a flower stem than just an old piece of wire. So the next step is I want to round scallop these ends here, these jaggedy ends. See how on this one I made these rounded so it closely resembles a flower. You can also make them pointed if you want it to perhaps more like a dahlia. This one I scalloped. So you do that by just rounding the end. I just take a pencil, but you don't have to. You could just I kind of eyeball it, or you can draw a line that's like a big smile from this corner here. And you're just going to cut off, you're going to make a big smile. You're going to cut off this sharp edge here, and just do one at a time. I'm fighting with Scotch tape today. Okay. So just cut this all the way through, kind of thick. So see how that looks at the end? And these raggedy edges you just are going to toss. And then fold it in half, because you want to do the same thing on the other end, but you want it to match this one. And so I just fold it in half and trace it, so they're the same. So there you go. Just set those scraps aside, and you have this. Isn't that pretty already? It's kind of like a butterfly to me. Monarch butterfly with these yellow and green colors. Makes me happy just looking at it. It's so pretty. Okay, there's your bottom, the green, and there's the top. Now these pieces that we're using for the stamen, you won't need your Scotch tape anymore or your scissors right now. You're going to take those and just pull them forward. You're going to pull them towards the middle, towards the Scotch tape. Make them kind of stand up. Like that. Okay? Now, here's the slightly tedious part, but fun, because this is where you really get to see your flower emerge. We're going to take one piece of tissue paper at a time, just lift it up, and we're going to gently pull it towards the center, the stamen. Lift it up and separate it from the ones next to it. So it looks like that. And you just keep doing that to all the colored sheets and 2 of the green sheets. You know, making tissue paper flowers is really relaxing for me. I don't knit or crochet, and so sometimes I like to just make them while I'm watching TV, relaxing in the evening with my family, because the more you make, the easier it gets, and it doesn't take a lot of brain power, and you end up with something really beautiful when you're done, and they just make people happy because they're so colorful and fun. So the more you make them, the more you practice, the easier it will get, and the more you get familiar, just like anything else, the more you get familiar with the material. So I've done all the colored ones on this half. It looks like this, and I'm just going to do 2 of the 4 green. So you have 4 green scalloped pieces there. You're going to pull up 2 of them. And you're going to leave these other 2 like that. So there you go. We're halfway done. So let's do the other side now. I wanted to share with you a little bit about the history of paper flowers. So people have been making flowers out of paper for centuries. One source that I researched said that the Mayan culture back in the 5th century AD made paper flowers out of bark paper. They made paper from tree bark, and then they used that to make their flowers. So it's a very old art form. It's a very popular art form in Mexico also. I've been making tissue paper flowers since I was a little girl. I remember making them, if I didn't have tissue paper, I would just fold napkins and make flowers. But in the Mexican culture, this paper was brought to Mexico by the Spanish colonists, and they got it from China back about 200 years ago when the colonists started arriving, the Spanish colonists in Mexico. And so the Mexican culture has really elevated the art form of tissue paper flowers. And like I said earlier, it's now used for altars, quinceañeras, all sorts of different things, and they even use tissue paper, you might have noticed, in piñatas. But the paper that the Spanish brought over to Mexico, from the research that I was able to tell, may have come from China. Papel de China, it's paper from China, and the Spanish brought it with them. So I'm down to the greens here, and I'm just about done with my second half. So as you can see, with a little bit of inexpensive tissue paper and a little bit of imagination, the sky's the limit on what you can make as far as flowers. If you Google paper flowers, you'll find all sorts of beautiful, sophisticated flowers that artists have made. So how you doing? How's your flower looking? Are you having fun? Is it looking good? I hope so. I'm really happy with this one. So these pieces that we left at the bottom that we didn't pull up into the flower, this is going to be our stem. See how easy that is? So if you grab 3 or 4 pieces at once and just pull them a little bit away from that, and pull this down and squish it together, and then just give it a little twist. You know, the paper doesn't tear hardly at all once it's squished together like that. It becomes pretty strong, and you can give it a good strong twist like that. And you get something that looks like that. And the top, isn't that pretty? Cherry. Okay, so now we have our stamen here. Now you could leave them like that. They're kind of cute like that. But let me show you a couple of other things, if you wanted to, that you could do with these centerpieces. You can separate them and have, there's 4 sheets there, so you can separate them into 2 sheets each and just take them and twist them. Let me show you here. I twisted them and I have this. So the stamen look like that. So you just separate it and you just start twisting. Like I said, it gets pretty strong and doesn't tear as easily when you start twisting. So give it a good twist. And I usually leave the end like that because it more closely resembles a real flower. The stamen, as you know, is the part that carries the pollen of the flower, and it's what the bees and the hummingbirds like, the pollinators. Okay, so I'm going to have 4 here, and you can add as many of these little 2-inch strips. They don't have to be green. You could make them a completely different color and make them red if you wanted. Remember, this is your flower, and so you can use whatever colors that you want. I use a lot of this purple and turquoise because I just love it. So I'm just going to keep twisting these. How's yours looking? Hope it looks beautiful and fun. And take a picture of it when you're done. I'll give you an address to our CREATE District 6 Facebook page, and you could upload pictures of your flowers on our site if you wouldn't mind. I'd love to see them. So there's your flower. Now the very last step is to just keep lifting the tissue paper and making sure that these little delicate petals, without pulling too hard, are all standing up straight as possible. And keep kind of fluffing it until you have the shape and look of your flower that you desire. So there you have it. There's your tissue paper flower. Congratulations. Good job. So there's some others I've made. So I hope you enjoyed today's workshop, and I hope you enjoyed participating with me in the very old art form, making tissue paper flowers. I hope that you'll make some more today and keep practicing. Take some photos. Like I said, I want to invite you to go in and like our CREATE District 6 Facebook page at CREATE District 6. Also, you could follow our YouTube channel. This video will be uploaded on that YouTube channel, so you can watch it again if you'd like to. And that's, once again, the YouTube channel is CREATE District 6. So we have an Instagram page and a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. Next time, I will be showing you how, I hope you'll join me, because I'm going to be showing you how to make Hojas dolls. Oops. Anyway, we're going to make these fun, cute dolls. Also easy and inexpensive. So I hope you'll join me next time for that. Thanks again. It was a fun time creating flowers with you. And I hope that you'll join me again next time to make Hojas dolls. Bye-bye.